So why are we 2 minutes late, Sean? What's going on?
Oh my gosh, wait. We're trying to do a broadcast, just the two of us like the old days. We don't quite have the same production support. We do have Paul, thank goodness, who's working Q&A manager and our Paul.
And I can actually hear us coming through my demo laptop, so give me one moment here while I make that go away. Yeah, this is awesome.
This is excellent. We are, welcome, good evening. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It is quite the day for us.
This is a very special Skype for Business video broadcast because Sean's going to be demoing a whole bunch of PowerShell today, and I'm so excited.
Oh, wait, no, hold on. I believe that the statement that came about was, hey, Sean, we should do this broadcast series about a year and a half ago. And it'd be really cool, you know, if we did like PowerShell, we talked about network. Well, we have done every topic we want to talk about except PowerShell. And so why is PowerShell today such a big deal?
Well, it's a big deal on every day. I don't understand.
I mean, for the broadcast.
Why is PowerShell today special for the broadcast? Because you get to show us PowerShell. This is really great.
You're the one with the laptop in your hand.
Oh, yes, fine. I do actually have a PowerShell window. This is my new demo laptop. I have a blog post in progress on how to get PowerShell working on your brand new demo laptop because we had to do that about 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, but we've got a little bit of a change coming up here on how the broadcasts are going to run.
Well, they're going to run flawlessly, clearly, because I have actually accepted a new role in engineering. And so, therefore, this will be my last broadcast as a member of the august Skype for Business Marketing organization.
Well, wait, that's awesome. You want to know why? It means because now you have no excuse to not come over because engineering keeps saying they want to be more involved in these. So I now have we still keep the team alive.
Yes, absolutely. No, it'll be great. So I can't wait to come back and show off some of the new fun stuff that we have built. I'll be looking after, surprisingly enough, IT Pro Tools things, which just so happens to be the area of expertise that Mr. Wilson here takes care of. So Sean's going to be my marketing guy. How perfect is that, right?
So now that we've gone back and forth for a couple minutes, just kind of give you a little introduction to what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about custom policies in Skype for Business Online. This is actually a big deal in this modern world that we live in. If you think about it, you have between regulatory and security. One of the biggest concerns that people have about going to the cloud is, hey, do I have that same level of security as I do as on-prem? Do I have the granularity of controls? And this was a really big deal for us to be able to get to that point.
And this is definitely a push-pull with the cloud, right? So obviously with the server, you have almost an infinite amount of configurability that's available in the server. I can write scripting, not PowerShell scripting, but scripting that is in the very depths of the manner in which the server processes SIP messages.
Yeah.
I've seen filters written in Link server and Office Communication server before it that strips codecs in SDP invites just on the fly, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot that you can do in the server, and clearly in online, the value proposition is that, hey, this stuff you set up a tenant, you can get this thing up and running in 5 minutes with a trial, and then poof, this stuff is all here, right? And so we have this this really easy to manage, easy to operate, easy to administer world for online. And in the server, you have a lot of sophistication and you have a lot of capability and you have a lot of power. And there's that balance that we try to drive. So we're trying to drive a lot of that power and that configurability into online, yet still have it be really easy to use and still have it be very accessible to all different types of IT pros out there, all different types of businesses.
And if we take it back to the world that I used to live in, because I love to talk about video conferencing, right? Same complexity, right? You used to have your own MCUs, your gatekeepers, your manageability tools, all of that. But you required the expertise in-house to make sure that all those pieces worked. When you look to a managed service provider, all you had to do was make sure that you could actually get to their service. And they took care of all the heavy lifting. Office 365 and Skype for Business Online really does give you that flexibility to say, hey, you know what, I don't need to have that super deep bench, so to speak, to always maintain those. But at the same point, one of the big things that we got was, hey, if we're going to move our enterprise there, we need to have a little bit more granularity into the controls that we can kind of take into account.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, folks that are familiar with our broadcast know that many times we'll have Bing Pulse and Q&A going on. We still have that happening in this broadcast as well, even though we're a little bit more on the fly today. So Paul's in the back. Definitely hit up the Bing Pulse. We always like to hear who's coming out. We always like to hear what you're interested in for us to go and tell good stories to you. So we've got some stuff about kind of custom policies to talk about. So I see, Sean, you got a slide queued up.
I do. Let's
flip over to that.
Flip over.
Custom policies in the real world as opposed to custom policies in the fake world.
Fake world, Netherlands, or neither, whatever.
You were about to say Netherlands.
I was.
Wow.
But I didn't.
What did the Netherlands do to you? Canadians like everybody. Come on.
So one of the things that we wanted to show here is, like, historically, before these custom policies released, which actually ended up in production at the end of January, really what these custom policies do is some of the key things like disabling file transfer and some of the additional granularity and control that historically were one-off policies that we'd have to go get.
Yep.
For large customers, would have to go and get in there. The other would be, there was a very limited set. Like, do you remember when we did the Link UI and we did the Link and Skype UI and enabling Skype UI?
How can I forget about the transition from Link to Skype for Business? That is permanently etched into my brain.
Yeah, but do you remember that when we did it for online, we had to actually let people know what PowerShell commandlet was so that they could disable that Skype UI while they got ready, their business processes ready, and then they'd switch it over to Skype for Business.
Absolutely.
As their native UI. And so there were very limited PowerShell commandlets at that point. And so our key with this, a lot of the feedback was, we had customers that were saying, hey, you know, I need to be able to disable file transfer for this group of people, or I need to set a conferencing policy for this group, or one of the ones was automatic or anonymous dial out.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Like, I don't want people to necessarily have the ability to do an anonymous dial out in a conference.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So one of the things with this is that we had to be able to break down these granular policies. And so what we've done is we've actually given admins the ability with these custom policies to even bring it down to the user level. So let me just kind of show this. I'll bring it back to us. One of the big things though, when we start talking about custom policies is, you know, global policies, right? There's global policies, but then there's also there's two types. There's global policies, and then there's user policies. There's another one in there that's really important, and that's the ability to break it down by location.
Exactly.
And so we actually allow that. Like, imagine dial plans or PSTN conferencing policies that are based on region and location. And so one of the things that we did was we actually increased the scope to not only be about global or user, but also based on location.
So I can set policies that deal with my entire tenancy. I can set policies that deal with groups of users within my tenancy. I can set policies that are specifically for a single user if necessary. And then I can also apply those across a physical location that I've defined. Right?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. So so one of the things that we wanted, we also brought, was there's three real pillars that we hit in these policies, and I'll show them here. The first one was the client level policies, right? So one of my favorite ones, disabling icons or emoticons.
Emojis.
I'm just kidding. One of the ones is, you know, the ability to enable or disable and different features within the client.
Yeah, right. And so you can affect. Well, this is a great example. Like we were just talking about moving from the Link UI to the Skype UI. That was a client policy, right? Because it's the client that determines. It was actually the same executable. It's the same code, but it was a policy that decided how is the client going to unfurl and show itself? Is it
Yeah.
going to show itself as a link UI? Or is it going to show itself as a Skype for Business UI? But
Exactly.
then there's also these super atomic things when you said disabling emojis or disabling ink, I think is another one. Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then you have to take the next one, which is conferencing, right? Like, so some of the things like that we would want external access or the ability for PSTN capabilities with the conferencing policies are there. And one of the things we're going to give you at the end of this is actually a link to the TechNet page that has all of the client policies, all of the conferencing policies, as well as mobility.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense too, right? So there are going to be cases where I'm going to want to treat my clients differently. So for kind of regular, PC, Mac-based clients, I've got one set of policies, and then for my mobile clients, I've got another set of policies. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So really, as you kind of take a look at this and you go down that path, one of the things to make sure is go through and look at what the different policies we've enabled. Historically, you had to like verify location and what the feature and then be able to set those policies. We're really simplifying that with these custom policies. So one of the things that I'm going to show here real quick, and then I think we're going to wait. Oh, you're going to demo.
Oh, of course, Sean would let me get away with my last official broadcast as a marketing representative without forcing me to demo PowerShell. Of course.
So when we say global, what do you mean?
When I say global, I mean affecting the entire tenancy,
Okay.
affecting all of the users within the tenant, affecting all of the capabilities of that tenant. And so, aren't these also hierarchical, right? And so I can set things that are global, and then those will kind of cascade down to all the other sub policies.
Yes.
And so if there are elements within a sub policy that are not defined, they'll inherit the settings of the parent of the global policy.
So let me share. I'll share this slide with people just so you can kind of get a rock on what we're talking about. So a great example, like those conferencing policies or a client policy, the link UI one would be a great example, right?
Of course. Yep.
But another one at that point from a client policy, let's say it's the Skype UI experience. Let's say that you have that link experience. Let's say you're a financial institution and you're in the process of moving users not only into the cloud, but you're there. You probably want to roll out that new UX experience at a group of user level.
Sure,
right?
sure, yeah, right. Like at the same time that you're rolling out the new UX, you want to let everybody know, hey, your client's going to look different. You're going to want to let them, know through an email campaign or some other type of adoption effort. Putting up signs around the break room. Don't freak out when we're giving you Skype for Business. It's going to be awesome. It's just like Skype, but it has all the kind of great capabilities that you're used to from Link in the past, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so as we were showing there, you've got the global, you've got local, and then really the user level. Now, what's one of the most common requested ones that we see out there?
Most common requested policy that we see out there. Would that be disabling emoji? No, people really like the Skype emojis. That's kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably something to do with security. Probably something to do with the manner in which enterprises and businesses can kind of keep the communications.
So like
Skype for Business,
like maybe
more secure.
app sharing.
App sharing, yeah, absolutely. So especially in regulated industries, there's a lot of restrictions around how information can be shared. Skype for Business is one of the vectors that folks could be sharing information, and so we've definitely seen cases where customers want to restrict application or desktop sharing. One of the great security vectors, of course, is around file sharing as well.
So wait, so you mean I can send a file to you via Skype for Business?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you can. So, shockingly enough, we have that capability, and in fact, this is actually really powerful. So, one of the things you may not know is that the Skype for Business file transfer is almost a raw socket level setup. Now, it does still work through firewalls, and it does still work if both parties are behind high NAT firewalls because we'll traverse
Yep.
essentially the media flow. In this case, is the file transfer. We'll traverse that through Edge, and obviously everybody that is working in Skype for Business Online is external as well. So that's the way it works in Skype for Business Online.
Yeah.
So, but it's actually super duper powerful. So we're going to go out to Enterprise Connect in a couple weeks, and you know, a lot of times the network can be suboptimal when you've got 5,000 super into geeky technology techies all invading a hotel, and bouncing a 28 meg PowerPoint file for a keynote up to Exchange and back down again
is a pain.
Sometimes that can be a little trying, and so instead you can use the file transfer. Especially if you're on the same network, you can, and you're not behind different high NAT firewalls, then you can have a direct kind of raw socket connection,
and it's fast. And
it's
efficient,
screaming fast.
However, it is a concern for some customers.
Yeah, of course. Like the malware can spread through it. People can do dumb stuff. Just like they can, do dumb stuff over email, just like you can do dumb stuff over, sharing, in file shares, that sort of thing.
And as well, you've got different roles within companies that wouldn't necessarily want. You wouldn't want them to have the ability to share a file. Let's say it happens to be, I don't know, within the financial group or something.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
So one of the things that we do with the ability is actually that enabling and disabling that.
We don't judge customers' reasons for wanting to control the experience of Skype for Business, because this is one of the great powers of Skype for Business. This is one of the great powers of all of the Office 365 workload, is that you can have all of these great capabilities and yet still have the manageability and still have the policy and still have the ability to have a broad surface area to be able to control the experience.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Totally. So does it mean that we're getting into the fun time?
Should we do the fun time? So as Sean was talking, I was actually throwing down a little bit of PowerShell here. I'll show the list of commands that I've got here, and I'll just kind of walk through them really quick. First I'm going to import the Skype Online Connector module. This is the thing that you download, and you download this from downloads.microsoft.com, and this just gives your local PowerShell knowledge of all the different commandlets that are available for Skype for Business. Then I need to get my creds to be able to hit up our tenant, and that just pops a dialog box that lets me go and put in my credentials. I did this already because invariably when I do these things live, I ended up fat fingering it, and of course I did, but Sean was talking, so it was all good. I grab a new session using those credentials, and then I bring that session into my PowerShell session.
We're actually getting a note on Twitter that people are having a problem joining because the URL is not working as expected.
Oh.
See, real-time experience or the real-time experience. So join the event as a guest. Okay.
Well then.
Well, we've been broadcasting and we'll be delivering this after the fact.
Perhaps this will be an asynchronously sent broadcast. Well then.
Excellent.
Moving on. So now I've got my PowerShell session. Now I can run these two commands to be able to first see the modules that I have loaded, and then see the commands that are available within that module. And so I'm going to pop out to my list of to my PowerShell here. And so you can see I've just executed the get command against the module that I have loaded up here. These are all the different modules. This is the one with this particular instance that I have executing here. And you can see all of the different Skype for Business cool stuff, like, for example, get CS Hunt group coming soon to a tenant near you, IP phone policy, being able to get different information about my tenant, all these different commands. Oh my goodness, there's so much here. Okay, so what are we going to do? We are going to check out what our CS conferencing policy is here. So get CS-conf, and one of the great things about PowerShell, of course, is that I can just get in a little bit of the PowerShell, and maybe I need to actually write this. correctly. CS get dash, goodness gracious. Get dash CS conferencing. Thank you, policy. So what this is going to do is this is going to throw down all the different conferencing policies that are set up in the tenant. And as you see, there's a giant list of them, and it's all kind of going crazy here. What I'm going to do is highlight one of these. There's a whole bunch of kind of pre-cooked policies that are set up within tenants. These are things that we have all kind of by default that folks can take advantage of. But these are not custom policies. These are our pre-cooked policies. So let's actually go and check out what a custom policy will look like. So what I want to do is I want to actually pick one policy here, and the way that I do that is with the identity tag, and I'm going to look at my global policy. So identity of global, and so here we go. Here's my global policy for CS conferencing, and so you can see all different types of controls that I've got here. Do I want to allow video, for example, in my conferences? Do I want to allow people to do polling or to do shared notes or to do the Q&A manager? Again, we don't have any judgment on what folks want to set in their conferences or how they want to have this configured. Maybe you haven't rolled out, training yet for Q&A, or maybe there's a group of users who you don't want to, give that level of functionality to. Instead, you want to give that to another group of users. Here, of course, in this case, we're looking at our global policy, and so these are things that are going to impact everybody. For example, enable peer-to-peer file transfer. Right now, that is true, and so being able to change that is super straightforward. And here's my cheater line of code there to be able to do that. Again, I'm now. And you're making
that a global policy, right?
Yeah. So here's what this command's doing. This is setting the CS conferencing policy for the global policy, right? So I can choose which one that I'm tweaking this for, or I could create one.
Redmond.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, totally. And then I'm going to set enable peer-to-peer file transfer to be false. So I go and I set that. Now if I go and check out, oops, I'm on PowerShell. If I go and check that out now again, and I see what my conferencing policy is. Oh, I did it again. I ran all of them. Let's try identity of global.
There you go.
Perfect. Now you see enable peer-to-peer file transfer is set to false, meaning if I try to go and set up a file transfer, if I try to go and do that within my client, that will be blocked. And so the way that operates, I'm going to flip us back here to live video. The way that operates is when the client logs back in again, and the client goes and gets a refresh of its policies, it's going to see, oh, peer-to-peer file transfer. Okay, I know that I'm not supposed to do that. And so therefore, it's going to disable that across all the different users that you have within your organization. So incredibly powerful set of tools here. And again, we're going to provide a set of links, right, up to everybody, so that way you can see all the different diversity that's available across client, across conferencing, and across mobility.
Yeah. Now, one of the other ones, as you think about using these policies, I was just looking through some of the ones there, and one of the things you think about is, as you start to want to roll out a new feature, or you want to scope whatever a user is going to be able to see or use, if you think about Microsoft, we need a little, right? Mm-hmm. You get polls, you get Q&A, you
Absolutely.
Get all those additional things. However, if you're in IT and you're like, okay, I want to limit the scenario so that I can really focus on helping my users get there, or a group of users, I can actually enable and disable at the feature level of like polls or shared notes or Q&A manager, or even the ability to upload Office content, right?
Yeah, totally.
So as you start to look at these policies and what they do, I'm gonna send you to a link here in a minute, and it's actually got all the Skype for Business Online commandlets. It's at aka.ms, SfBO commandlets.
Oh, that makes sense.
CMD.
Yeah, okay.
LETS.
Yeah, so SfBO, Skype for Business Online, commandlet, CMD, LETS.
Yep. And
Perfect.
so let me share that. I'm going to share the screen real quick for you, just so you know that's there. One of the big things to recognize is we actually have a session on Skype meeting broadcast as our next one too.
Oh, fun! Excellent.
Right, so we can really grill into Greg on what's happening. Because, we're going to bring Greg and James over, and they're going to talk, and we're going to be able to drill in and ask really what's going on. But also, that one will be our session right before Enterprise Connect.
Oh, exciting!
So my recommendation, if you are going to Enterprise Connect or are considering it, you can actually utilize the discount code Microsoft for a $500 discount on your pass.
Nice.
So,
no, it's
and
fantastic.
if you're going, let your account team know, because we'll have people there that would definitely like to touch base with you.
And let us know. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on the communities. We love to know all the folks who are going to be coming out.
Yeah.
Obviously, both Sean and I are going to be there. I don't get to exit the marketing organization quite so quickly when it comes to Enterprise Connect. I'm going to be hanging out at the booth a lot of times. Mr. Wilson will be managing our keynotes.
Oh, wait, yes. So I get to spend lots of time backstage.
Lots of time in a very tiny room that gets hot.
Yeah.
I still have very vivid memories of having one of the early Surface hubs back there, and it was awesome. But yeah, it kind of gets sauna-like.
I think so. Sitting here and this is like our last marketing kind of thing, and ironically, it's the one that the link didn't work. Right? So I think it's the parting farewell that is our session. So for all of those that will watch this afterwards, we thank you very much for coming and watching it after the fact. We will get that up and running here shortly. I'll download it and get it uploaded to YouTube immediately, and then redirect the lane.
So there you go. That's how you're watching this now.
Yeah.
On YouTube. All righty. Hey,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.